Welcome back to That Philly Sports Girl. I'm your host, Elise Person, and we are going to be talking about, you guessed it, all things Philadelphia sports. We are going to kick things right off talking about our Philadelphia 76ers, who have clinched first seed in the Eastern Conference Division for the first time in 20 years. To put things in perspective, the last Sixers team to clinch the first seed in the Eastern Division was the Allen Iverson team in 2001. This all became official this past Friday after the Sixers defeated the Orlando Magic 122 to 97. Clinching first seed gives the Sixers home court advantage throughout the Eastern Conference Finals, which is a huge advantage for the Sixers because they have a home record this season of 27-9. That is great statistics, great odds coming into the Eastern Finals, home court advantage, a ridiculous amount of wins at home. I am so excited to see what the Sixers do in the tournament this year. The Sixers are now simply playing a waiting game to see who they will match up against for their first game in the Eastern Conference tournament. They have to see who wins, who loses. It's a really bizarre bracket. It's a lot of the winner plays a loser, and then it's a lot of craziness. But looking back to this past Sunday, the Sixers concluded their regular season play with a 128 to 117 win over the Orlando Magic. The Sixers did not start one of their usual starters in this game due to minor injuries or injury recovery reasons. I mean, you already clinched first seed. Let's totally give these guys a rest so we can come into the tournament as strong as possible. And I am so excited watching the Sixers secondary totally rise to the occasion and rise to the opportunity this past Sunday to put the Magic away to finish out the season on a high note. 20-year-old Tyrese Maxey put together a huge performance in the win against the Magic. He finished the night with 30 points, 6 assists, and 7 rebounds. Maxey's teammate, 21-year-old Paul Reed, finished Sunday night with 17 points and 12 rebounds, and after the game he spoke about how impressed he was with Maxey's play and effort he put forth that night. He said, quote, "To come in as a rookie and score the ball how he scores it, it's just not normal. That's stuff that a number one pick would do. He's balling like he's a number one pick. He surprised everyone with how good he is. Definitely surprised me. He's a super talented scorer and a great guy," end quote. Seeing Maxey and the rest of the Sixers secondary come out hot and with such great effort Sunday night makes me, again, super excited to see what the Sixers can do in playoffs. The mentality in the locker room is clearly the right mentality. Everyone wants to win bad, and you can just tell. These are the types of teams that go far. I would love to sit in on a practice and see how these guys push each other in scrimmages and whatnot. You know, we have the secondary coming out in a game that really technically doesn't matter. They already clinched first seed, but they wanted to win that game. They wanted to show their strengths and what they can do on that court. And it's very clear that every single member on the Sixers team is completely bought in and wants and sees the same exact end goal. And that's what I see from the Philadelphia 76ers. So like I had mentioned, I am so excited to see what they do in playoffs, and I am just patiently waiting to see when the first game is. Like I said earlier, the Sixers are playing a waiting game to see who they will play in the first game. It all depends on who wins, who loses, and the date for their first playoff game has still not been set, so let's keep an eye out for that. Now moving on to our Phillies, who are not experiencing the same highs as the 76ers. The Phillies are coming off quite a frustrating road trip to Florida where they played a 3-game series against the Toronto Blue Jays. The Phils won the first game of the series, but then suffered 2, you could say, borderline embarrassing losses on Saturday and Sunday. On Saturday, the Phillies struck out 14 times and had 3 defensive errors, almost 5. And then on Sunday, the Phillies struck out 11 times and second baseman Jean Segura committed 2 errors. Manager Joe Girardi said something to Segura in the dugout, and there was a confrontation between the two. Coaches had to stand in front of Segura to hold him back and break up the confrontation. The following inning later, Segura snubbed Girardi during a mound conference where the entire infield brought it to the mound to talk with Girardi, everyone besides Segura. Now, this is just not the energy this clubhouse needs. There are lingering injuries starting to mound up. Soreness is definitely beginning to sit in among the 21 and 20 Phillies team. I mean, 41 games, that's when you start to see it. Soreness, a little bit of injuries. But the team really isn't playing completely up to where they should be offensively or defensively. And the last thing this team needs is high tensions running throughout the clubhouse between the manager and players. I think we really just need to come together and start figuring things out. When asked about the altercation and the errors, Girardi said after the game, he simply said, catch the ball. Catch the ball. He would not answer any direct questions about the altercation either. On Sunday, the Phillies were without any bench players. Bryce Harper was out with a sore right shoulder. JT Realmuto was out with a sore left hand, and Didi Gregorius was out with swelling in his right elbow. And then just about 20 minutes before the first pitch Sunday, Andrew Knapp was ruled out with tightness in his rib cage. So these injuries are definitely going to be something to simply monitor and keep an eye out for, especially headed into tonight's game versus the Marlins, where the Phillies are looking to snap a 2-game losing streak. Now over to the Philadelphia Flyers, whose season just came to a close last Monday with a 4-2 win against the New Jersey Devils. The Flyers finished their regular season with an overall record of 25, 23, and 8. This past season was definitely a Flyers season that was a huge letdown. Can't sugarcoat it there. Last year, we were 1 game away from the Eastern Conference Championship, and this year we didn't even make the playoffs. So definitely something that's hard to swallow. There's going to be a lot of changes, I think. We're going to watch that really closely, what happens this offseason with the Flyers. This past season, the Flyers led up the most goals in the NHL with 197 goals over a 56-game stretch. There were struggles defensively, there were struggles in the goalie position, we had trouble scoring. It was just an all-around messy season where we could just not put any pieces together. Like I just briefly mentioned, it's going to be a very interesting and important offseason for general manager Chuck Fletcher, especially after the letdown coming off of last season. I think big changes and roster moves are going to happen, and I'm excited to stay updated and keep watching throughout the offseason any moves or roster changes that will happen, and you can stay tuned on those here on That Philly Sports Squirrel as they continue to come in. And now finally over to our Philadelphia Eagles. Just yesterday, Zach Ertz trade rumors continues to buzz as reports say that Ertz will not be coming to Eagles voluntary offseason workouts that start today while he continues to work out his contract and or is traded. It's really sounding like he wants to get out of Philadelphia, but it makes me kind of bummed because I do wish that he would leave Philly if that's what he definitely decides to do in a better way. To be completely honest, it feels a little lame to me. You were such an icon in Philadelphia, Zach Ertz, and to just now essentially be boycotting the workouts, the Eagles, I'm sure some fans can relate that you kind of feel a little boycotted yourself. It's an unfortunate way to go out, and I don't want to say you lose respect for him because he is such a respected Eagle that did so much for the Philadelphia Eagles over his time here, but it's definitely, in my opinion, not a great look to opt out of the workouts because of reasons where you want to leave or want to be traded. But that's just my opinion. We'll see what happens with trades or whatnot in the next coming weeks and what will happen with Zach Ertz. In other Eagles news, the Eagles just yesterday signed former Washington football team defensive end Ryan Kerrigan, a 4-time Pro Bowler and is the all-time leader in sacks in Washington with 95 and a half career sacks. He had field days against the Eagles in the past, and I am so excited to now have him on our side as opposed of lining up against him on the defensive end. He is 32 years old, but he is a total beast, and I really think that we are going to get a solid 2 years out of him at least, so I'm pretty excited about the Eagles picking Kerrigan up. The Eagles' voluntary offseason workouts do begin today, and I am just super excited for the season to come around. I know we still have some months to go, but voluntary workouts are back. Soon we're going to be getting into the swing of things, and before we know it, training camp is going to begin. So As always, I will keep you updated with any off-season roster moves and news, but that is going to do it for me today. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm that Philly sports girl, and we'll see you 2 weeks from now.